slapping on their worst map, and this is their worst map by far. So I expect this to probably go VP's way if there's anything to go against. I don't know whether or not we can really base it off statistics, because we have seen the BDS in best of threes, in best of fives, can really outdo their opponent regardless. So you've got to remember, this is just the first map. Bans will come in. We'll see an ace. We'll see a Thatcher. Nothing too outlandish for the moment.
No, I mean, I'm just thinking for BDS, like, it's pick your poison, right? It's Theme Park, or it was going to be Villa. Probably both, neither of them looking particularly happy. Again, all season long, they banned away Theme Park. They played it twice. They've lost it twice. It's just not a pretty situation for them. But let's see if that gun skill we keep on speaking about can drag them through, or if VP have got something surprising in store for them. Final two bans coming out. The Wamai, zero surprises at all there. Maybe a surprise coming out of Virtus.pro. It was BDS who started off the trend of banning away the Wamai. And Mirror going to be the closing ban here by BDS. What do you think about those, Jess?
I think this is picture perfect. This is what I expect. A lot of people have been throwing out a lot of the fact that this Goyo is a popular operator here for VP. That's all well and good, but if they didn't have Goyo, and you can see Renshiro is actually going to use it as well on the BDS defensive side, if they don't have the Goyo, they're just going to bring deployable shields in another way, shape, or form that's not, you know, an explosive. So I still think that there are better operators to get rid of. You don't want to be going up against a Mirror on this map. It means you have to go below. You've got to deal with it another way. With a Thatcher being banned, it makes it extra difficult. Go with what you're used to going with, and this is what they're doing here. What I like, however, we have a Lion in play. How are they going to use it? I don't even care, as long as they use it and they use it well.
Tempera, is that you in disguise? Are you Chaosis all this time, Shockwave? What is going on? Hello? Yes, exactly. Not really the kind of pick you expect coming out of a team like Virtus.pro, but I think it makes some sense. When you think about the roaming demons that are BDS, Shaiko, he'll greet you on the entry to the building and put a bullet in your head before you can even say thank you very much for your hospitality. So I think bringing along the Lion here, it makes a lot of sense. They want to be able to use that to make sure the players have locked in spot. You pincer someone like Shaiko into a room, you call in that Lion scan with drones, also sat on him. Shaiko should die, and I emphasize should, because this is Shaiko we're talking about.
He is on the Jaeger, no surprise there whatsoever. If you're looking at both of the compositions on both sides, the only, and I'm speaking, the only surprise is the Lion. That's it. And oh, we got the cams, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness, what a great addition. I've been waiting for this for a heck of a long time. And now we got a forehead there. Wasn't Rask, but nonetheless, we got one.
We have a Windows backdrop as well. Why not? Just throw us in the full mix. I imagine we'll get those online for you guys real soon as well. Like you see him playing around with those. That'll be awesome to see how those develop over the weekend, especially as the players get sweatier and sweatier the closer we get towards the final. There's Milan, the goat of the hour or the goat of the season, some may say.
Pasha.
Again, fresh-faced 18-year-old. That's Milan. Pasha, who? What?
That was Pasha. It's okay. They'll work out exactly the players. How do I know their faces? Because I look at them every day on CGG. Anyway, we'll jump.
I can only just imagine you sitting there like love-struck eyes, just staring over the whole roster of Virtus.pro like, I love these boys. And I'm just like, okay.
You know what I love? I do love these boys, and especially on attack. I really love them. They're very good at being able to destroy a lot of utility. They love to use speed as part of their arsenal on attack. They've got below. They've destroyed a heck of a lot of things from below. Those walls will no longer be electrified, I believe. And as a result now, things will start to open up for them. They've got the Habana to play with as well. Ace is banned. So what is your other long-range hard breach device? It's going to be those X-Kairos. Half of the walls opened up, so that's the trick. The trick will be Rafale. He'll be the one there to shoot off those X-Kairos. And hey, there's Milan. We've got his face ready to go, and he's looking cool, calm, collected.
Had his grinning little face earlier on in that player head-to-head where he looks happy as can be. We'll see how much damage he and the team can do in the first round as we are getting in towards the final 60 seconds. I was talking about drones, and I was going to say up until a couple of seconds ago, there were still 8 on the field despite a Mutant and Mozzie charging around, so making sure those aren't being sacrificed for no reason. Good play by Virtus.pro, but the big question is there's always one player in which you only see their eyebrows, by the way. Thank you very much, Rask.
Oh man, he's usually the Ash Jaeger player, so of course he's got to be 1 centimeter away from his monitor.
It's a Shaiko style.
Of course, got to do it the Shaiko style, and I believe Joystick used to do it as well. And now this is going to be the first engagement surely here to be Bride against the Ash player. He's known to be quite good, but in the background, Shaiko says, no, it's me. I'm going to get Milan, and he's going to look absolutely devastated.
Yeah, this couple of kills come flying fat just like that. The whole thing has fallen the way of BDS. Very patient from them, and I thought for a long time it looked like Virtus.pro had the right idea. Things were getting opened up. They were being patient, but then BDS just do what BDS do best, and they explode against Virtus.pro. Flawless first round to kick things off.
I actually didn't expect it to go flawless either. It took me a little bit of gas there at the end because I went, oh, God, that whole kill feed's lighting up blue. And, you know, I couldn't even pass it over to you before it all just kicked off. Big thing for me is that I really enjoyed seeing VP swiftly take below, get that IQ in. They used a lot of utility from below, which just makes sure that you don't have to deal with those ADSs. We speak about it on multiple maps. Oregon is one of them, top floor. A lot of people like to go below and deal with the shields that way. That way you're not having to cook ADSs, magnets, etc. No magnets available here because of the Wamai ban. But big thing to point out here is that VP know what they want to do. But the moment they get to site, BDS go, yeah, look, you didn't really do anything to us because our gun skill is better than yours, and here we go.
Here's a couple of shotguns running around corners, and I think after they played so passive behind the Mute and the Mozzie pretty much all game long, it was like, hey, let's just spring out and get those couple of kills at the end to make sure things definitely fall our way. Chat Dude says, let's go for the EU 6 major BDS versus Virtus.pro, EU France, R6S BDS power. Man, I wonder which team they're supporting, Jess.
You know, I'm gonna have to think on it. I'll get back to you later once I work out exactly which team I think they're a fan of. Big thing for me, and I'm gonna break this down again, yet again, is that we are seeing the Lion again. Did we really see any use of it last round, Des? I didn't really feel that we did.
Maybe not, but it's always the case of in some rounds teams have the right idea or the right intent, but something happens in that round that just completely upsets the ability to be able to use it effectively. And BDS played it sensibly, I thought. They just sat on site and was like, we haven't got to go too aggressive here. We can just wait for when the right time comes round for that clock to start running down to 0 before we spring our trap. So it may be a different story this time round, and given we have two members of BDS roaming down towards Aviator in games, Shiko and Brede, of course, it's Brede playing on the hard support role on the roam. Why wouldn't he? Those two are the ones that now you're looking to try and catch up with these drones and the Lion scans.
A lot of drones out of pockets here for VP. I'm just looking across the board. A couple are already destroyed, but it means that VP having to deal with these mute jammers, which have been set out. Rascal miss a lot of shots there, and as a result, he'll be peppered back. And those red pings were giving away the positions, and what Rask was trying to desperately to do was do his role. He was trying to entry frag, and again, Brede just comes zooming out. He's just going to be able to take the kill, and he's roaming very far away from site and has finally traded back, but he's done quite a bit of damage. That's going to be the soft breach gone. That's the grenades gone, and that's one of the new big hitters, the biggest rookie of the year, if you ask me, of Milan, down for VP.
Yeah, the frags are gone, whereas in exchange, the mute jammers have already been placed down, no doubt, around site, so you can now afford to roam away. Maybe you sacrifice a C4. Definitely not going to be the end of the world. So as you say, 100% a valuable trade to come in for them here, putting us into a 4 versus 4. We'll see where Virtus.pro choose to try and angle their attacks from now. They could look out towards Master if they so choose and rotate members out here, or continue their assault from the south. Now they've managed to force Shiko back onto site. And it appears to be the answer is going to be a split. You've got Shockwave playing up towards the north with the drone from WTG supporting him in. Otherwise, a couple of members, such as Ras, starting to drone their way in from the south. So a pinch play coming in from Virtus.pro. Question is, a BDS going to be phased by that at all? Something tells me not.
Oh, they don't even have grenades to work out here with the Electroclaw on the wall. I don't think Pasha's going below to try and get rid of it. And they've got the Lion DMR, which is not going to really do anything until they come bursting onto site. They did manage to get the right-hand side, so they will get a portion of the wall open, but Alems could sit pretty damn safely in the corner he's in now, have a nice crossfire over towards Statue Door, but unfortunately Rask, he's going to throw himself over onto Statue Door over from landing, and that's really bad. Why? Because, well, the team wasn't ready to burst onto site, yet the coordination lacking ever so slightly here from VP.
It's always these moments when it comes down to the execute that, I mean, the first couple of rounds BDS has shown that's when they look like the stronger team. There he goes again onto WTG. It's all fallen apart for Virtus.pro. They're down to a 1 versus 4 with no time left on the clock. And try as you might, guess what? BDS are going to take round number 2. Looking like nothing but absolute domination in the closing seconds of these rounds.
A couple of those shields still being up as well. We did say that what they wanted to do was a little bit of a pinch push at the end. They rotated a couple of the players, including the diffuser, around to bedroom. The trouble is, and I'll always be very critical of teams this way, and you know me very well, Des, I always say the first plan of attack should be opening up the default wall that you will need to get the plan off. I understand you need to roam clear elsewhere, but the number one goal should be going, okay, We'll go underneath, we'll get that electrical, then we go and do the roam clear, get what we need on that side so that the wall can be opened up quite early. If you leave it till too late, you don't know what you're going up against and you don't get rid of the things you need, because maybe Milon's whole job there with the grenades after he cleared was to go lob it over the top and get rid of that electrical, and they would have had an easier access. They don't. That's kind of what you get, but this is the kind of scoreline we expect on Villa regardless of the teams.
I'm just looking at BDS's lineup now and going, wanting to throw up a little bit. Not only have we got the Pulse and the Valkyrie for the information, we've also got 4 C4s coming out for them as we go to the offsite of Dining and Kitchen. I was going to come into this and say, if any site's going to be lost here by the side of BDS, it should be this one. This is the offsite that most teams will struggle with more so than the other two. A couple of teams in LATAM are actually treating Trophy and Statuary as their offsite, but here in Europe, it's still very much sticking with Dining and Kitchen being just that site. On the side of Virtus.pro, they've got some tools to play around here as well. You still got the Sledge on side. You're even seeing Shockwave now moving over to playing the Jackal. So same sort of intent, aiming at isolating a member or two of BDS if they are playing out on their own, but also brings along that ITA shotgun for some help in destroying the floor, if needs be, alongside a couple of smokes.
Well, Milon this time has said, all right, I'm going to bring Zofia LMG, and that's the gun that you can hear peppering away just now. It is a huge, huge gun. It has, I wouldn't say it has a lot of firepower, but it doesn't have a lot of recoil. It has a heck of a lot of bullets to work with, and it'll be interesting to see how he plans on using it. I don't know whether it's for destructibility as well, because you can use a lot of those bullets without reloading, and whether or not he'll sort of try and use it as a killing ability as well. It's hard to say at the moment. Pasha's got the grenades this time, and you spoke about, you know, Shockwave on the Jackal. I'm hoping they coordinate a bit more this round to get things done a bit quicker, because what's really been forcing them on that kind of time is not having the site open to do the plant that they desperately want to do.
60 seconds in, no one's dead. A small thing's got to be celebrated for Virtus.pro here, when so far they've barely been able to find a round, let alone an execute, actually go their way. As you would always expect, vertical play is the name of the game. BDS will tour over it with those 4 C4s that we alluded to earlier on. Renshiro going to be the man making some calls, no doubt, on the back of those cardiac sensors. And for Virtus.pro, it's going to be the same, I think, as what we've seen in the first couple of rounds. A slow, methodical approach to the site itself. That much they seem to do well. It's when it actually comes down to execution time that I start having concerns.
Well, they're trying to get some kind of damage from above. They know there's a little bit of a library presence down. That's why you can see Milon trying to desperately shoot down from above vertically. It's about the 120 moment of the round, and that means that those verticals desperately need to be opened. There's a lot of space you need to cover as a Sledge on this particular side. A lot of places you can hide in corners. There goes the first C4. Can they connect more? Renshiro is going to be pinging out a heck of a lot of these players, and they're going to have to be very safe here. And if they're going to get all of these verticals open and still play on them, it doesn't look like a lot of the BDS players playing over towards Kitchen are really bothered by any of these verticals being opened up. It's when Bathroom starts to get opened up that they'll have to do a bit more of a dance.
Renshiro almost getting tagged out as well, but it's a kill incomplete for Pasha, I believe, who had those shots going down his way. Does put him down to about 20 HP, so one more bullet and he should be in the dirt. But it'll be enough at least to keep the team going with that information. Brede also almost succumbing to the same fate, but no, he's left alive on about 20 HP too. So a couple of kills of Virtus.pro that you would argue might give them a small advantage in the round are not going to come to be. All 5 members stay alive, and those C4s most critically are still intact. Down goes Renshiro as he tries to play quite aggressively up into Astro. Pasha more than happy to make sure these kills are even out at 1 apiece, Jess.
Oh no, it's coming to the 10-second mark. They're not even attempting a plant. Everyone's vacated site. They've got their angles all the way into it. This is just going to come down to a bloodbath. Plant will begin. C4 should connect. Is it close enough? Yes, it is. And BDS surely claim yet another round in their pockets as defenders of BDS will walk around with 3 defensive rounds in a row. And I don't know, Des, I kind of feel like VP are just too slow to the punch here. They look like they know what they're doing, but the moment they get to execute, BDS is gone, yeah, we just don't need to peek you.
I love how you said slow to the punch, because my analogy for how the game has gone so far is this is like in one of those really cheesy martial arts films where Virtus.pro are the kid who's really cocky, full of beans, and is there like posing, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, all that kind of stuff. And then BDS have just stood there, not even in a pose, just watching them, looking really disinterested. And as soon as they step forward to try and attack, BDS just punch them straight in the face and they get knocked out cold on the ground. Every single time Virtus.pro looks to go for an execute, BDS are like, oh, I guess we best now press the left mouse button. I guess we best throw a C4. They are just completely uninterested in the first 2 minutes of a round. And then when Virtus.pro do finally get anywhere near the site, they're like, no, 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 not allowed today, I'm afraid. And they close things out. For BDS coming into a map like this, again, I touched on in the kind of pre-game, would a map like this be enough for them to just show their gun skill and win, or would Virtus.pro be able to counter them? I think I'm leaning towards Fluke's way of thinking and what she said, that this is going to be a 2-0. With how well they've played so far, I don't see a world in which Virtus.pro magically transform the way that BDS are playing and use it against them.
My problem here is that we're still in the first half. This is BDS's defensive side. If they're going to do well on this map, I expect it to be their defensive side. You are right, they really don't like this map. And I was looking over to VP's stats a little bit before and going, how well do they usually do on their attack? And actually, they don't do too bad on their attack. I'm not going to lie, at least 50% of them winning their attacking side is the usual thing. I look onto their defensive side of things, however, and things don't look so good statistically. In fact, VP tend to do better on their attack on Villa than they do on their defense. So that probably actually doesn't bode well for them. And this might not be a map that BDS likes, but they've had enough time to just chuck it in multiple scrims, knowing very well that if they don't ban it first, it will very likely be picked first against them. So I actually think they're prepared this.
It's not to say that BDS have always looked at Villa and gone, insta-ban, just never going to play it. We don't even bother prepping it. Because they've chosen in a couple of cases where they were the ones left with the final map choice to come to Villa rather than another map that was left at the moment. So I think a couple of times this year they thought, maybe we can add it to our map pool, maybe we should try it and see how we feel. And yes, they've lost it. They've lost the G2 twice this year on it, believe it or not. And I believe against Tempera was another one. Things didn't go well, but it's not like they are completely against trying to make the map work. It's just been, well, we're so much better on other maps. Why bother? It feels like a major at a time when you've got a bit more prep time, when it's a good time to show what you've been air quotes hiding. This is the best time to bring a map like this out.
Shaiko doesn't care about flashes, and I'm not sure if he's even flashed out from those flash grenades there. It's something he probably should have been. They're red pinging him constantly. What they need is a pinch formation from below, from above, and they finally, that's 3 crossfires that happened to be able to deal with Shaiko there. I can't believe you need 3 people to be able to do it, but they did. And that's what they needed. VP needed a very confident entry. You got that numbers advantage now, and you also are a lot closer to site with a lot more time. Start opening these walls, start getting things you need done, and make BDS squirm more than they have in previous rounds, because so far, BDS have looked very comfortable. If we had the player cams up, I can guarantee they'd be looking comfortable as heck.
Oh my god, Alems, that is a very big committal, but manages to get away with it despite having the grenade initially thrown over. It's almost like the timing was just ever so slightly off, really. More like you should have seen the X-Kairos go on, get triggered, and then a grenade comes singing over, because Virtus.pro are not going to be able to get this wall open now, I don't think. They're trying once again to get for a grenade. Another one has come through. If he now gets another electric charge down on that wall, that should not get opened up no matter what happens. But it is a 5 versus 3 for Virtus.pro. This is their best chance to win a round here against BDS, and they've got about 35 seconds in which to do so, Jess.
Well, drones will come out to confirm that Alems is playing in pretty much a default spot. They don't have study control either, but I believe DBNO makes it down there onto Rafale. And is this the first round here for VP? Probably very likely, but there's only 20 seconds left, and it's a 1v5.
A lot of magic for him to work by himself, but he's going to get domed, and just like that, Virtus.pro will finally take a flawless round. Talk about a caster curse. At the very start, I said they do everything right up until the point of execute, and then BDS are just better. And maybe here it was the roam that didn't work out so well for them. Shaiko being out on red stairs, got pinched, got, well, bullied by a lot of angles being opened up, by a lot of flash grenades being thrown in. And once they dealt with the demon god himself, it was like, hey, we can go for an execute this time round because we know he's not going to sting us in the backside as soon as the execute comes through. Good for Virtus.pro to find a round. I'm curious to see how many more than they can get and whether or not we see BDS now adapting a little bit, pulling back and playing a bit more defensively once again, because clearly playing out on their own like that, that is where VP are very happy in executing onto you as an individual.
It did seem like BDS there were a little bit out of their depth. It's kind of strange to say that BDS are doing better turtling than they are on the roam. That's not something we would particularly correlate with BDS, especially on their defense. Shaiko, for the most part, is able to run riot on most maps off-site, and that's where you'll generally see him. For the most part, they've reined him in, I feel, for this matchup. I think he's kind of been playing so much closer to site and more of a team player than we generally usually see him do. A lot of the BDS players, when something gets opened up, what they smartly do is they reposition themselves to another key area that's not opened up, rather than forcing themselves to panic and challenge the angle. They just say, no problems. You've taken that position, you've taken that angle. I'll move somewhere else in sight, somewhere you haven't opened up, and I'll be a little bit more confident in being able to hold the site and play time. I feel like BDS are playing time here, and that's probably the smart decision. And VP just sped up that last round, which gave them the leg up.
Yeah, when we saw them on Dining and Kitchen was the best case of that. Oh, the floor's been opened. I guess we just moved out towards the west a little bit here. And I think when the actual execute attempt came through from Virtus.pro, you had 2 or 3 players of BDS all standing on an elevated surface underneath a concrete ceiling. So there's just no way they get themselves tagged down from above. So I agree with you. They are pulling back and playing defensively. But my God, do they know when to snap back?
I want to see exactly how VP deal with this main stairs presence. They've been going underneath for the most part. This time they don't have the IQ to work with, so they're going to rely a heck of a lot on the impacts of Milon, the grenades of Pasha. Maybe they'll get Rask below as well to get some Ash charges up and get some pings onto those shields that are playing above. I like this version of it, and Rask will dispatch the first Go-Yo shield on main stairs. I prefer this way. Why? Because you're not going head-on with BDS. You're not going head-on with Shaiko, for example. As you're trying to sort of do a quick peek and get a shield, out of nowhere, Shaiko just comes and blasts you and casts a curse yet again. There's Shaiko on red stairs. This time he wins out.
Well, that's interesting because for Virtus.pro, they didn't have the same members gathered around. Most of them are pushing on the south side. Although you had Pasha droning him out and Milan trying to challenge, there was no 2, 3, 4-way crossfire coming into Shaiko to even guarantee the trade. And to give it to Milan, he came close. Shaiko is down now to a bullet's worth of HP. He could be down pretty easily, assuming Virtus.pro are aware of where he is. But you did also have, I believe it was Alem playing off-site this time. Not on the Bandit, played off-site and moved with him, was playing out towards Satchery, sorry. Was it Trophy? No, it was Trophy. Honestly, that side, despite knowing them, it still mixed them over all the time. It kills me. He was playing towards Trophy, so they had this north side covered, a lot more presence up there. Maybe that's why Virtus.pro opted to now push in towards the south.
Well, that grenade from below was really well placed from Pasha, but it's almost like Bride could tell the future. He predicted it, and he actually moved all the way back behind the billiards table. And now for WTG, I think what he wants is to get Vault open, but Alems will be the one to stop him here, and I don't think he knows that Alems is there. He's waiting for him to ignite it in case he shoots another X-Pyro pellet. And I do believe there is a mute jammer there, so it's going to stop it either way. Another grenade coming out from Pasha, and that's going to connect onto Renshiro, who has had a pretty good couple of stages, if you ask me.
He's managed to find himself in a spot where he has been the carry for the team for the longest time. Milan comes along and he's got someone else on side with him and Rask to be able to drag the team through some rough rounds. Speaking of which, Rask finding a kill, traded back pretty much immediately to put us into a 3 versus 3 with just 30 seconds left on the clock. Alem's still hanging out towards 90 here, so for VP, they haven't cleared out the top side of 90. They can't push up and try and go through and execute into bar, I don't think, but Alem peaks and loses. Pasha, the man of the hour we were just speaking about, comes out big. They're inside of Vault. They managed to get themselves a spot of control for BDS to be able to fight back. It's a 2v2 pushing in here. Shaiko loses the one. Rafal steps forward with a shotgun to get the other, but there's a massive gun coming in the back from Shockwave. Brings down Shaiko, drags the round over the finish line, and Virtus.pro will manage to steal another round away here. That's 2 on the bounce.
I don't know if you caught it there, but at the end, Pasha did this huge, easy clap above his head. I felt that energy all the way from here, and I'm on the other side of the world. I mean, this is how big the major is. We can't understate it anymore. This major is huge. The fact that VP is involved again is huge. The fact that Temper is involved later on is huge. I mean, these players know exactly what's on the line for them. VP, I believe, is already secured off for 6 Invitational. So for them, it's not quite as, I guess, important in regards to 6 Invitational as it is for other teams. Temper, you know, being the big hitter there, I think, for this major. But to beat BDS would really be a statement. If you beat BDS, one of the best teams in Europe, and quite frankly, one of the best teams in the world, then it's very likely that you will do well in the 6 Invitational if you can keep that momentum. Not sure if that screen was on multiple people's screen there, or it was just my own. But I wasn't seeing the game.
I really wanted to do. We'll go to a quick commercial break. Beep, beep. It's just like the whole thing.
I don't know.
It's all good. Just to give everyone clarity, obviously we're trying to fix a couple of things behind the scenes, so please have some patience with us. We still get to enjoy watching 2 of the best teams throw down, so we appreciate your patience on that front as well. But round number 6, Jess, we're coming into it now. One thing I want to touch on is that Virtus.pro really dropped away from playing these more luxurious picks, dare I say. They're no longer bringing just the one heart breach. They've dropped things like the Iana has gone away, the Jackal's gone, the Lion's gone. We've now got Shockwave going back to playing on the Thermite.
I think this more meta composition, this more meta lineup is better for them, because when they're trying to do all these extra things, they're missing out on the fact that BDS are just not peaking them. They were taking a DMR Lion because they really wanted to section off Shaiko if he was roaming. They wanted to just slap him into the ground early on. And that hasn't really been a reality for them whatsoever. Shaiko's actually playing on site with Jaeger. So he's been reined in considerably. Now they've had to rethink their strategy. And by rethinking their strategy, it has meant that they're just going to have to go with what they know. But Shaiko says, what I know is how to shoot heads, and that's Milon's going off, and that is tilting for Milon because he has killed him multiple times.
Oh my god.
And I don't think Milon's even had one kill this matchup so far.
Milon is 0-5 on entry right now.
Wow. I mean, Rask is technically entry, but I see your point.
On entry, in terms of him being the one who goes up for the fight, yeah, Rask is the entry player, but Milon does get involved in a lot of the entry fights, and in this game, my god, has he been shut down. In fact, 3 of them by Shaiko, and I think at one point in time, I coined Milon as Shaiko's apprentice. He's this new young rookie who's got a lot of capability and a lot of skill, but we've got to see that really blossom a bit more before he can stand up to the likes of Shaiko, and this game, if nothing else, is just serving to epitomize that view.
Yeah, look, we're getting down to the halfway mark, and Rask is unfortunately going to have to rotate. They'll get rid of the shield at the top of Astro. That was actually a really important one. And Shaiko again, it's the Shaiko story. Finally shut down, and I don't know what it takes, but last time they used a 3-way crossfire to get rid of him, and now they've had to lose 2 whole lives. That's the Thermite gone as well. Is that wall still intact? I don't know. If we get a quick version of it, or a quick vision of it rather, we'll be able to ascertain it is, and they're going to have to rely here on the X-Kairos. Are there any more of those electric claws to work with? Don't think so. That wall should get opened up, but this is not looking good here for the attackers.
It is not, unfortunately. They're in a spot once again where this time they're down on numbers before they've even looked at the execute of the site. BDS starting to get a little more bitey in their own play, especially coming out of Shaiko. And I think what's frustrating is in round number 4, we saw Virtus.pro deal with Shaiko on the roam really, really well. So what did BDS do? They said, look, throw more players on the roam. Commit to helping Shaiko, supporting. We've seen that from players like Alem. And it's worked absolute wonders for them. And Virtus.pro is constantly chasing the tail of the side of BDS here. Rask chasing the tail of Bride and brings him down, putting things into a 3 versus 3. He is very low on HP, mind you, so Rask has got to hit the head every single gunfight that he comes into. Renshiro finds one, Rafal another. It's down to the last man standing of Rask. I mentioned the 1 bullet that he's got to go, and it's going to be Rafal to connect that final shot. BDS closing out the half 4-2, but it's felt very, very dominant from them in the rounds that they have won.
It's really strange for me because I would love to be able to turn around and analyze for everyone what is BDS doing so right that it's just tearing VP apart in most of these defensive rounds. And I still think that there's unfortunately not much I can say other than BDS are playing time. They're waiting, they're waiting, they're waiting. Okay, finally they got the wall open, but they've only got 25 seconds left to really do anything with it. Shaiko's already hit heads on, the other cusp of the site. So we'll focus on really getting that plant denial. And if that's been their focus, they've only really had to deal with 1 round of plant denial. The rest has just been them being able to hold really critical lines of sight and crossfires, and VP have run into it. That's probably the sad reality here for VP. They get to go into defense now in a 4-2 split. Not too shabby for VP. I mean, they get the next 2 rounds or, even the next 3 and things start to look upward for them.
I think it's not too bad coming into the 4-2, like you just said, Ben. This is generally the kind of split that we expect to see coming into Villa, or coming out of the first half of Villa. And given it was Virtus.pro's map pick to go on the defensive here, I would like to think they're in a spot where they've got some really good ideas planned on how to deal with the aggression that comes out of BDS on their attacks. Speaking of BDS, the Iana coming along, we saw it being brought up by Virtus.pro for a couple of rounds early on. Wasn't really a mainstay, in fact only appeared in round number 4, so just the 1 round rather than the 2. We'll see if Rafal can make it work any better.
I feel bad because I'm looking back at the previous, and I'm only going to look back at the last previous matchup that Virtus.pro had on Villa, and what I have it listed here is whether or not Russian Major League was involved or not, but just for EUL Stage 2, when they went up against G2, they lost 2-7, and that was quite an intense loss for them, I think, and they actually did quite bad on their attacks in the last 3 rounds. So for me, I want to see them being able to gain a couple of those attacking rounds, kind of give them a little bit of momentum into their defense. The defense also wasn't good. They actually lost 4 of their defensive rounds, I believe. So it's it is technically and statistically worse.
What I will give is G2, that was their best map in stage 1, and I think through some of stage 2 as well. Like, Villa was the map that they played the most. Like, no team really should be taking them there with how comfortable they were. We saw a few try, non-succeeded. I still remember stage 1, day 1, when they played against Rogue, and everyone was super hyped about seeing how good Rogue were, and G2 were just another class. It's so scary to take them to a map like that.
Well, Ranchiro wants to see if he can cut any rotates off from connector window, but no one passes by, so as a result, he's going to rotate himself over. It'd be interesting to see exactly what BDS's push plan is, but hey, there we go, talking about push plan. Alems is going to go down, and I think he actually went down. Was that below? Was that right next to Shaiko? Interesting if it was next to Shaiko that none of those refrags came out. Okay, it was. So Shaiko decides to drone instead. Maybe that's the plan here for BDS. Rather than just throwing bodies at them and trying to focus on gun skill, maybe they're just going to focus on things like plants or executions, or really working these walls open for the first half of the round. So far, not really much working for VP. That almost does, but unfortunately it catches the ceiling. And for BDS now, they should get that vault wall for free.
I think now you lose the fear of one of those coming out. Absolutely, at least and get the low side of it open, if not the upper as well. Depends if they're fearful of any impacts coming out of the side of Virtus.pro. Didn't see what Milan's brought along here in the defensive side, whether it was C4 or impacts. But denial's an option for them. Is the impacts. He's not currently playing around it to go for that denial, but Shaiko has now found himself down, but not out. He gets himself picked back up in pretty quick fashion. So for BDS, a little bit dicey here. A couple of gunfights they've lost on the way in, and they haven't even left a scratch on a member of Virtus.pro so far.
Yeah, this is really good for VP. They're getting down to the 30-second mark. What will the execute be? I have a big imagination here that it's just going to be the vault door, or they're going to shoot through vault. Finally, BDS will collect Shockwave, but that was out of a Claymore, and I believe that would have been on some kind of flank somewhere. And now that they're running out of smoke, babes, I'm looking over. Where's the diffuser? It's in Brude's hand. Where is Brude? I cannot find him on the map for the most part. And oh no, this is all falling apart here for VP. Why did they roam? 10 seconds left. You don't need to peek, but Ras says, yes, I do. I want these kills. And oh, this is surely going to be a VP round. They just keep peeking everything. And I don't know, they pattern the stats at this point? I guess so.
I think a little bit with Pasha finding his third kill of the round towards the end of that, I think, as well as going absolutely crazy with a shotgun. And for Virtus.pro, I think I agree. There's the sort of... it's the sort of thing if BDS did it, you'd understand. But for Virtus.pro, it's like, oh God, why are you challenging? Why are you peeking onto them like this? But they find the kills, and that's the most critical part, even though they lost Milan on the downstairs roam. So for BDS, a bit dicey in the approach. Definitely tripped up a few times by Virtus.pro. Fair play to them, knowing also, like BDS did, when to turn the aggression on to close the round out. That puts things at 4 and 3. And look at the site we're going to, Jess. We don't see Living in Library all that often, but that's where we're going to head to in this round.
Jeez, I did not expect this in any way, shape, or form. Just because of the rotation of the sites, you generally never really even have to see living room. I can't even say the last time I've been able to see this in a very, very long time. So for me, I have the very, very informed assumption that what VP have done is they knew they would be able to get Villa against BDS in some way, shape, or form. The way that they prepared it is to just come up with strategies that would likely knock the socks off of any opponent that they came up against. And if you're going and you're playing a side that you're not used to pushing, a lot of players won't have played this in scrims because you just generally won't prepare it. You won't have to go up against it. So I don't think BDS will be prepared for this site, considering they don't particularly play Villa to begin with.
I think, what was the team I saw play this? I want to say it was TSM against Reciprocity. I think it was like late last year. Maybe they played on it as well. And this is one of the sites that was used. And there was this very spread horizontal hole going on across most of the bottom floors, to be fair with you, with the exception given to below Trophy and Statuary. They extended across into Art Studio and used this with a lot of rotations being open between sites. And I thought it was really fascinating to watch. So I'm really keen to see what the setup is coming out of Virtus.pro. It seems to be that top floor defense coming in at least to start things off. This is one of those sites that you don't get to see all that often, that I think it's fair to say there is no established meta for it. There's no go-to default style like setups that team will go for. It's always quite unique team to team. Of course, there'll be some layovers, but for the most part, I think it's one of those sites that you get a chance to watch and you're like, oh, show me. I'm really keen to see what's new and what's different.
I generally expect teams to take top floor, get some vertical control above, try and open up some of those key areas around, especially box, little art museum in the middle there. You're able to open above that, make sure no one's hiding in there. So I do expect BDS to take that vertical control. The trouble is VP also want to hold it. You can see them busting open a heck of a lot of vertical holes above the site. Look at how much they've opened up above. They've got reinforcements to help hinder any pushes. So this is heavily fortified above. My problem is that BDS have worked against heavily fortified positions before as well. And then they've coupled it with great mechanical skill. So for VP, I want to see them using crossfires. Stop this solo peak business. It doesn't work against BDS. Last time you were able to isolate Shaiko, it was through a triple crossfire. If that's what you need to do, and you need to commit to it.
Think about all the times that teams like BDS will just run at a location that most teams would say, hell nah, am I attacking that? And they still manage to make it work. I think Na'Vi against Secret, one of those examples I remember from back on Oregon in stage 1, where Secret were at 6 and 4, should have been able to close things out, and then Na'Vi just walk at them. BDS are a team that can do the same thing. They will jump over shields, they will just run at you, but they know they've got enough utility on side to clear those out where needs be, so reducing risk, always going to be good in their books, even if they have the confidence to go on and win those gunfights.
I love these vertical holes because the trouble is if you go against the site, you're already not prepared to push and you don't know what vertical lines of sight could be held against you. Speaking of, Milon's going to find one onto a lens, and these are the kind of tight vertical angles I'm talking about. This map knowledge, map manipulation means that BDS have no idea what they're going up against. If you don't clear above, you will lose this round unless you have phenomenal gun skill, and I think that's what Shaiko's looking to do here. He looks to be a one-man army for some reason upstairs, but I mean, we've seen him do worse on Oregon.
So BDS are now thinking about ignoring that top floor hold and then just going in for the plant. If they can find a little spot in a hidey hole in a corner somewhere that isn't exposed to the ceiling from above, then maybe they get away with this, but it's going to be work to do so. And all you've got left is 15 seconds and you still haven't dealt with Milon from above. The same spot that he holds turns into 3 kills. Pasha converts one onto Shaiko. Rafal is left all by himself. And it just goes to show BDS had zero idea this was coming up. That is going to be one hell of a round out of Virtus.pro where BDS, quite frankly, looked absolutely lost.
This was not on their map. This is uncharted territory for them. You know those video games you play where like you can only visit the place if you've gone there before? This was that for BDS. They had never trodden this untrodden territory, and I think it just really showed there. You could absolutely tell they had no idea. I would have thought that the discussion would have been, oh my God, they're living lounge room. Let's take top floor, see how we can flush them out. Someone go bicycle window, hold the rotates so that they can't flank us, and we'll do it that way. Instead, they just one-dimensionally tried to shove themselves in from kitchen side. It really didn't work. Those vertical holes were chef kiss. And I think that that goes to show that VP, like I said in attack, they know what they want to do. Sometimes they just can't execute it. But on that defense, damn, they gave us a show.
You love to see it. And what I said about BDS back in the start of the pre-show, actually, I said the two teams that, in my mind, I remember as giving them a real good challenge was Rogue. Back in stage 1 when they beat them on Oregon, went through a lot of counter-analysis. They all credited their analyst, Arku, for that work as well that he did. And then this stage, in stage 2, when they played up against Vitality, it was a 6-6 draw on Clubhouse. But Vitality showed that they could box BDS in and force them to make these crazy plays that, again, most teams would look at and just go, hell nah. If you counter-prep for BDS, you can beat them. It's very easy to analyze the best team and try and find where the holes are because it's very kind of obvious the 2 or 3 things that might be going wrong, where the weaknesses might be. And it feels like Virtus.pro that last round, it was more of a map knowledge piece that really came to bear for them ahead of anything else. But hey, if it gives you rounds, who cares? Virtus.pro are at 4 and 4. They're on the defensive Villa. This could turn into them taking map number 1 quite comfortably, I think.
Well, things are all squared away now, and the big leg up that Virtus.pro has is they're on defense, and their defense is looking schmick compared to their attack. And off the back of the fact that that was a little bit of a pocket strat. We're going to call that side a little bit of a pocket strat. How do they fare on one of the more known sites here, Statue and Trophy? Looks like BDS are just going to go with the typical, let's get open the bedroom wall, let's make sure we're dealing with it. My problem is they've got a couple of those vertical holes, whether or not that's just so they don't place the thermite on the ground and get feet holes, or whether or not they want to actively place someone below is yet to be seen. Shaiko's entry into kitchen will kind of confirm or deny that for me, and I don't see any outlines just yet. But he'll use his Ash charges surely to displace someone inside Astro. Maybe he even popped a shield for the trouble, I believe so.
It's definitely going to put some threat here because with the below being opened up, one, the shield is destroyed, two, Pasha's now in a bit of a precarious situation where if the push comes through into bathroom, he runs a real risk of just being shot out. You've got Rafale playing on the drone near side. Sorry, Rafale on the drone near side, who also can move to the window. You've got Alem also joining from inside a bathroom. There is another shield there, so it's definitely not world ending, but everyone knows where he is. Grenades are singing through, and surely Pasha now is in panic stations. Back to the site he goes, and his fortune to walk away with his life towards what? Another goddamn shield, Jess.
I was talking about this in the pre-show. It's the parade of shields, and I'm loving every damn second of it. If you don't have enough utility to deal with this, then what a beautiful and beyond the grave there from Alems means that he is able to clap back at Pasha. We've still got over 60 seconds left, and things are kicking off hella fast here. BDS, probably a faster attacking team than VP, and that's kind of elevating them here to give them more options. Unfortunately, for VP, they've lost their smoke. So what do they have left to deny with? A couple of C4s, I believe, maybe in the hands of Shockwave and WTG, or Shockwave and Milon. And, well, Shaiko says, good night, Jaeger player. These trades are fantastic, however.
It's one kill in one place, and then it's traded back immediately elsewhere. But guess what? Shaiko, the Demon King himself, is still alive. He finds the second in the round, taking us to a 3 versus 2. And for Virtus.pro, that pressure is now going to be building up as that execute is starting to be eyed up by the side of BDS. They have access to the site. Is it risky to go vaulting through? Absolutely. Especially when Milan, again, Shaiko's apprentice, as I love to call him, is now starting to find an angle onto it. Shockwave almost goes down, and now he's kind of pinched into a corner. But Milan's going to bring down Renshiro. Bride goes down too. It's all down to Shaiko, but Shockwave in the back corner finds a second headshot in a row to make sure Virtus.pro march on towards victory. 5-4 against BDS here on map number 1.
Wow, that actually came off the back of Milan. I think there were a couple of really key kills. We didn't capture them all, but there were a couple of very impactful kills that he was able to get. And when Shockwave was being heavily pressured in the corner of Statue, Milan, you could tell that Milan had shifted his position to cover bedroom door line of sight for him so that he could challenge the player behind the bomb chassis. That kind of teamwork, that kind of synergy, whether or not it's between those two players or all of your team, is what will win you rounds. And that round did look a little bit shaky into the latter parts of the execute. But for the most part, they kept it cool, they kept it collected, and they backed themselves out of really precarious positions, which is exactly what you need to do when you're on, a 1vx or a 2vx situation.
Ooh, can Virtus.pro do it? Can they really take a map away from BDS? I mean, I say it as if it's an absolutely impossible feat. I mentioned earlier on that a couple of teams have achieved that feat so far. Hasn't been, the perfect performance from BDS in terms of their season so far, and even here, might not be looking to go the same way. But my God, would it put the pressure on BDS going into maps 2 and map 3? Let's not forget the Clubhouse would be next. That was BDS's map pick, so no doubt a lot of confidence being shown through when we come into that.
I'm really excited here for VP because this is the first opportunity for them to really look around at each other. I know they're at the same gaming house at the moment, I believe, and look at each other and say, we are ahead. We're on defense. We're doing a heck of a good job. Last time we played this map, we didn't do a good job on defense, but here against BDS, we know what we're doing. Don't let that momentum go. And that will be the really saving grace for them, I think, pushing into the future rounds. So will this main stairs presence. And I really do want to highlight, Des, we saw how many shields are being used over an Astro before. I think the best team, to give an example, or the best 2 teams, I'm even going to say 3 teams. I'm going to up it because I really can't compare them. In all of EUL that uses shields the best, Team Secret, VP, and Tempera. The 3 teams I've really felt have understood that shields can just make or break a site or extend a position.
Are you sure that's not because they're the 4 teams that you watch in your little examples, Jess?
Well, those are the teams that I most predominantly look for when it comes to shields. So it's very easy to find an example because even in round 1 of most maps, they'll have it.
I'm poking some fun at you, Jess.
You know what? It's hard to know if you're joking or not because generally jokes are funny. And you're not funny.
I need to get a little electric pad, stick it on the back of your neck, and when I crack a joke, just like press the button to shock you and be like, yes, just so you know this is funny.
Yeah, but generally a joke is funny.
Yes,
yeah,
I heard you.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you play-by-play?
That's always got to be funny. Sometimes it could just be trying to put someone down, that's all. Don't you worry. You do it to me all the time, Jess. I feel the air quotes love from you on more than one occasion.
Well, not much love being felt here for VP because they're not hitting shots that they should be. They shot the feet of Shaiko over and over and over again. from the drone hole, and they could manage to end him. And it's somehow Shaiko just walks away with his life consistently in multiple matches, in multiple rounds now. Somehow he finds himself just being able to edge away with a little slither of HP. And I think that's what will give them the opportunity to still use the rest of his utility.
So down to the final 60 seconds, and feet almost being blasted out from Rask here holding inside a vault. Both teams have had quite a few moments of fighting around 90, whether it's trying to get open that vault wall or just quite simply holding around 90 itself. Obviously a very big contention point for both of these, whereas some teams have put pretty much all their focus into going for an execute inside of Aviator and trying to go for a plant behind the vault door. So like we're seeing both teams putting focus split between both sides, that 90 control quite important so you don't get flanked late round. We have seen some teams stung by that so far this season. So again, I like how both teams are putting some focus down there.
Oh no, Pasha yet again going down to a grenade, and they've been able to get rid of that big power position that he held. That smoke doesn't hit. Oh no, Grenade can get that plant down. He decides to run headfirst into it instead, and I don't know what this is about, but this is looking bad.
There's 3 left as well, and only about 10 seconds to play with. They've got to make the play happen right now. Going to be a peek coming in from Shaiko, but he loses to Rask. Renshiro wins elsewhere. Plant's going down, but the kill is won by Renshiro, the player that we celebrated so much. But there's a spray from below. Milan, the upset king, will bring Virtus.pro another round, move them to 6 and 4. And this is why the last time we attacked this site, having someone on the downstairs to contest Milan was such a big deal.
I shout out to our observer. Is it Easy or Medics today who we have on our observation? I think it's Easy. I can see his beautiful name aligned with ours. The fact that Easy was able to ascertain that that is exactly where Milan was and his job was to go down to the vertical that they'd made. I mean, there's a couple of places inside of Aviator you can make verticals, either to challenge from below actively from the start or to deny the plant. And behind that little map table is quite a big area. And so the fact that they happen to plant exactly on where that vertical shot or the shotgun hole was made was just pure bliss there for VP.
Small moments like that can make or break hearts. We saw it just the other day in the European Challenger League as it came down to the 15th round of the 3rd map in the final game of the day. There's still a lot of heartbreak, and rounds can be won or lost on small moments just like that. Let's see how this potential final round plays out here. Virtus.pro in a commanding position. BDS have got to win 2 rounds back-to-back to force this through to overtime. Otherwise, Virtus.pro will beat BDS on their cursed map that is Villa. And I have to wonder, if they lose here on Villa, what happens in BDS's next games? Do they ban Theme Park first? They ban Villa first? Like, what's the call going to be?
Oh, I don't think you can put a lot of stock into this, because you could be BDS right now sitting there and going, we know what we did wrong, so we would be prepared in future matchups. I think that would be a discussion post-game to go, is this our weakest map, yes or no? Or is there another map we really aren't prepared for? We really didn't scrim this coming up for the major. We'd rather go with what we know, even if it didn't work against VP.
Well, time will tell, of course. If they lose here, they do have to play again later on. You can be eliminated from the European Major on the first day. We have 3 best-of-3s today, 2 tomorrow, and then a best-of-5 grand final on Sunday. The loser of this game will go on to play in that 3rd matchup today that kicks off in about 5 hours' time, a rolling schedule, so it depends how fast these first two series go, but they'll have to play again later, so that time for adaptation might not be as great as the team might need to determine what went wrong, make amends, so on and so forth. We'll cross that bridge when it comes around to it, no doubt. Here we're about 60 seconds in. No one's dead. Always a good sign for the attacking side of BDS. They've been tripped up a couple of times so far by those longer range shots. And as I say it, well, you oohed at the angle. And guess what? Shaiko is going to lose that to Milan from below. The 2nd round in a row, and they blow the shield and also kill the player behind it. That's a couple of kills coming up for BDS, nice and fast, despite that initial first away of Virtus.pro.
They should have droned that out. That would have been a very obvious angle. It wasn't even just a shotgun hole, and WTG gets it down onto a lens, but he doesn't manage to cap that one off. And we're only halfway through this round, but there's been a max amount of damage here done, mostly to VP, unfortunately, considering the kind of angle we saw Milan have. And that's the risk you run. You run a go-go and you stand right behind the shield. You have to be prepared for the moment that it explodes, because not only do you have explosion damage, but you also have that fire damage that precedes it. And I think VP, they've really misread this situation here. They had a top floor hold. It was going pretty well for them. And all of a sudden, from sort of the northeast and northwestern side, things started to go downhill really quickly.
You got to consider as well that the impact from Zofia does 60 damage. The explosion of the shield, I believe, does about 40 damage, to at least to light operators. And then you have the fire as well. So there's a good to fair chance you're either going down or dead pretty much immediately, and that fire is only going to finish you off in the first tick. So good luck surviving that one, friends. Short lesson, don't play behind a Goyo shield when there's a Zofia on side and there are no ADSs left to keep you alive. Here comes Shockwave on a swing and somehow does not win that. I think he gets it down to Renshiro, who can get himself back up, mind you. So it's still going to be a bit of a dent put in the side of BDS, but that is a gun still capable of putting one in the head of Milan or WTG. And now we're down to just a 1vx. And well, BDS looking much better in that round. Will give themselves that one round that puts us towards round number 12. They lose. VP take map number 1. They win. We're going through to overtime.
Ooh, I'm just sort of sitting here trying to ascertain exactly what's going wrong with VP in these particular rounds. And when I say what's going wrong with VP, it more feels like BDS has got into their groove, they've worked out how VP want to play, and they're playing to their strengths. I think a lot of that's coming down to the fact that VP really want to play vertically, whether that's above or below. They're going to be playing those vertical angles, those vertical plays, and that's why you're seeing a lot of this top floor hold here from VP. My problem is that BDS, last time they didn't deal with that top floor hold, it bit them in the butt. Now, this time they've dealt with the top floor hold, and guess what? They get gifted around. So I think that should reinforce to them that them taking that top floor is the key to them being able to dismantle VP's entire hold. I don't know now that we're going back to lounge room and whether or not this is going to be another rendition of Milan just absolutely blasting through one vertical hole. I think this time, I do imagine this time that they will go above, they will clear it, and they won't just leave Shaiko up there trying to deal with it on his own.
I think you're going to have learned a lot in the space of a few rounds to be able to deal with everything else that Virtus.pro are going to throw in this round. Because, okay, you realize that Milan blasted you from inside the vault. Okay, cool, we learned our lesson. What else did Virtus.pro have in that round that they weren't aware of? There were loads of other holes that were opened up. They've now got the Maestro and the Valkyrie on side for even more information. The denial from the Mute is still that option too. They've got a lot to learn still, I think, about Virtus.pro's setup here. And the one thing I think BDS needs to get right here is a vertical take. You need to clear this top floor first. Otherwise, you're going to get gatted from above and you've got nothing to answer with on the downstairs. Rather than committing everything downstairs, leaving it to 30 seconds, getting smoked out, got to see more coming out, I think, in the early round from BDS.
Exactly right. And, well, it looks like they'll try and drone in exactly the same way they droned in last time. And this kind of is a little bit of a fear moment for me because I'm saying, okay, it's fine. They've got the sledge. They're going above. You don't bring a sledge if you don't really want to go above. You know, you've already got grenades on the likes of Yana. So why also bring a LEMS unless you're going to, I don't know, go above and sledge things? At least that's my hope. That's my prayer here for BDS, because you want to see this go the whole length. You want to see this go to OT. You want to see these teams show that they are two of the big hitters here at EUL, and this EU major is to prove that, and that's why they've been able to qualify for it. My problem now is that look how many VP players are above. If you don't clear this, you don't win. 9 times out of 10, you'll win a downward vertical angle over an upward vertical angle. That's just the truth. Shockwave, hello?
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, whether they're vertical kills or not, kills upstairs, kills downstairs, it doesn't matter as long as you're getting a kill. And for Shockwave there, maybe trying to bite off a little bit more than he can chew, because Shoko's all the more happy to give his team a slight advantage here. I imagine now there's going to be this focus looking upstairs, at least for a couple of members of BDS. Right now, everyone is still on the downstairs. Are they really thinking about just going for a lateral execute here and saying, hey, we can get away with this after what happened last time? Surely not.
I'm trying to look at what operators they have on the attack to maybe even use some smokes, but there's no smoke grenades on the attack. So what are they going to do to block these vertical lines? Are they just going to challenge them organically? I'm going to tell you what, even if Milan dies, someone else replaces him, and there's still another on the vertical. They've got Maestro cams as well, still up, looking at a lot of these key plant spots. I'm going to be really honest here. I don't think this is the play you and I spoke about in the sort of the prep phase. If this works for BDS, it's a Hail Mary.
Unless this is like one of those crazy kitchen executes on Cafe where you just say, forget the top floor, we'll just shoot above us as we walk in and kill people. As some teams have done pretty well this season, but it's a lot to rely on. Again, you don't know all the angles that Virtus.pro have opened up upstairs. Let's see how they can do it though, and here we go. Shaiko's going to find one onto Pasha, putting us down to once again a triple kill coming out. They have denied all that they need to. Milan is not in the spot. They don't know where the plant's going down, and BDS are going to get away with this off the back of Shaiko clicking heads all the round through. We're going to overtime. overtime by the looks of it, Jessers. This is one hell of a mammoth task for both Rask and Milan to pull this round back in their favor. 4 versus 2, that timer ticking down. You got about 20 seconds to make it happen here, boys. 1, you've got to challenge the angles. 2, you've got to find 2 wondrous kills, 1 of which you will not find. BDS will close things out, having lost only 1 member. That, sadly, ladies and gents, is the Shaiko effect. When he walks through and finds 3 kills, the team's pretty much guaranteed to win the round from there.
I don't know where Milan was, but he wasn't on that vertical angle where he destroyed BDS last time they played that site. If you don't hold the critical angle, you don't have the power position, and BDS, for whatever reason, knew and started to get the plant off. They got rid of the evil eye, and that meant that they weren't being spotted actively. So they were kind of, VP was sitting there blind, but you didn't have to be blind. Just be confident that your angle is what it is. It's a power position, and BDS haven't cleared you yet. Didn't happen. They got a little bit scared and panicked when a couple of players over onto the other side of main stairs went down, and things got a little bit jumbled up in communication, I think. So overtime is kind of where I expected it to go. I didn't expect VP to drop that round specifically, but this is a pretty close matchup for the most part. So I'm a bit worried for VP. This should have been their map, however.
It's one of those ones to call where that last round to me epitomizes what I thought we were going to see coming out of BDS coming into this, is that a team can be as prepped as they want to be. They can have the perfect flawless setup and BDS will still find a way to win rounds. I always hark back to their Vitality game that ended 6-6 on club. There's one round in which Vitality denied everything. CCTV wall, still closed. Construction wall, still closed. Garage wall, closed and held down. And what did BDS do? They walked through the single doorway from construction into cash and slaughter everyone. It just shouldn't happen, but they managed to make it happen. And in that last round, you might say Virtus.pro, by playing a bit roamy and trying to catch Shaiko off guard on the horizontal angle, was a bit of a mistake. Either way, he still found 3 kills for absolutely no trade back from Virtus.pro and won in the round from there. That needs to be something teams have got to be mindful of. And for Virtus.pro here in overtime, sure, they get to start on the defense, but we need to make sure these defensive rounds don't keep on going the way of BDS, because like the last 2 have, they're really warming into this challenge.
Yeah, that's probably the big kicker here for VP, is that, well, they get to start on defense for their OT. Does this bode good things to them? Sure, why not? We can probably say statistically against BDS, they're probably a little bit better on their defense than they are on their attack. Go figure, Hearts Villa. You expect that. But what VP have been doing kind of wrong that BDS have been doing really well is time management and being able to use that as your 6th sort of opponent there, or your 6th teammate rather. And VP have kind of let that go a few times. Even in their round that they had won quite confidently, you could see everyone peeking from Aviator, left, right, and center. That C4 will go down quite early there, and you could tell that's because Milan was being pressured quite heavily from Astro. So I don't know whether that being lost is really a big thing, because they still have those vertical holes open over towards side.
Just wondering what happens first here. Is it that Virtus.pro realise we don't want to challenge this too aggressively and let's just hold? Does Milan strike from below and catch Shaiko off guard again? Or does Shaiko strike like lightning and bring down 2 or 3 players of Virtus.pro in little to no time? And one player I need to give a nod to, because we've spoken a lot about Shaiko and Milan on this map, but Pasha, he's a player that I remember in the last major, Virtus.pro won on their first day and put up a really good show on their second day. And all of it was down to Pasha being, I think, the highest KD player of the whole competition outside of Renshiro. He was just walking through rounds and doming teams left, right, and center. He's still doing it even this game. 11 kills so far, almost 1 per round. However, it's Milan to strike first and bring down Renshiro.
None of those C4s have managed to hit. Even though they did have a pulse there, the cardiac scanner, they had every piece of intel they needed, but none were able to hit their targets. Only a little bit of HP will be taken off for Shaiko, and overall now he's down to about 30 HP. And for VP now, my worry is that, okay, you haven't been able to use your C4s to their full effectiveness. BDS still has about 40 seconds to work out getting some of that site open. But I don't think BDS have really worried about the study side. They've just thrown someone there late in the round, chucked someone in behind Vault Door and got the plant down. They're so focused on the northern side of the map that kind of all of the southern side hasn't been a problem for them. I wonder whether or not this round it will be, because that's where Shockwave is playing with the Vector, and there we go.
Just weren't even aware that he was playing in the back of it, I think. And in fact, it was Pasha who stole that kill off to the left rather than coming from Shockwave. He does get shut down, as the side of BDS are aware. Bride walks in, finds a kill for himself, and they're definitely not going to plant in the same spot. C4 comes out, but not close enough to be able to bring down a Len. It was on the other side of the table. But here comes WTG from behind, with Milan pushing in for another kill at the same time from Red. And just like that, the air quotes retake is executed by Virtus.pro in rapid fashion. BDS are in a spot where now they have to win this next round to give us another shot in round 15 and then taking map number 1.
This could be a back and forth, and unfortunately in OT, the back and forth will go in the way of VP. BDS could win the next round, but of course that 8th round will be the kicker. That will be the winner there for VP. This is their map choice. This was I'm going to arguably say, and I don't think this is a hot take by any means, this is the best map for VP to take a map off of BDS. It had to have been.
I agree.
There was no other map in the map pool where I could confidently say that VP could come in and take the win. It's gone to OT now, so I actually think this doesn't bode very well for a best of 3 for VP at all. Had they have come in and won, not without, or rather without overtime, I would have said, okay, things are looking pretty good. Maybe they've got things up their sleeves for future maps. Even if VP win this map here right now, if they win this point or they win the next round, I still don't think it bodes quite well because BDS, this is the weakest I've seen them, and that just happens to be, I think, because it's on their weakest map.
You know what I love thinking about this, so looking at the way the draft has gone, is that for Virtus.pro, they've drafted to play to BDS's weaknesses. They've taken to them their weakest map. Yep. For Virtus.pro, this isn't a particularly strong map. They've beat Navi here twice. They drew with Rogue and they lost to G2 twice. So it's a bang on 50% air quotes win rate for them. If you count a draw as that kind of 10% creep up. Whereas you look at Clubhouse, both teams have played this a lot. Both have a pretty decent win rate on it as well. For VP, they've won 71% of the time. They've played it 7 times. For the side of BDS, well, they've played it 18 times and won it 12 of those. They've lost it 4 times. Admittedly, so there is something in there for that this year, but you can see that for BDS, they're saying, look, we know that is our strongest map. Okay, you guys are good in it too. We don't care about you. We care about our own comfort. That is why we want to go to Clubhouse. Whereas again, for this one, this Virtus.pro was a, let's attack their weakness rather than play to our own strengths.
Yet again, we'll get the LMG here from the Zofia. Not sure why you'd need to reload when you have 116 bullets, but hey, power to you. Maybe he needed every single bullet that he could to be able to progress here onto site. My understanding, looking at a couple of these players over towards the bedroom, is that they'll do a pretty organic and meta bedroom push. Get that wall opened up. Make sure that you have the lines of sight, because VP have struggled with getting onto site. They've struggled with leaving it too late into the round, and they don't want to do it this time around. They don't have a thermite to work with either, so they're relying on X-Kairos, and it doesn't make a particularly big hole when you use X-Kairos. You could probably use a bit of a crouch hole on the right and a line of sight on the left of the triple wall, but they've got a lens with to contend with below as well, and no IQ to work that out. So there's a lot of moving parts here for BDS, and for VP, this one-dimensionalness might not work very well.
The way up inside of Cubby, or inside a closet, trying to move their way forward from here. Hey, look, Len's playing on the downstairs. Does he even know about the drone? I was going to say, surely you must have heard it jumping around just a second ago. We'll finally remove that one out. Now needs to be conscious, of course, that Virtus.pro know where he is, and maybe not sitting in the same spot for too long would be a good shout, or at the very least, getting some support from the rest of the team. Also not a bad shout. I say that, and Rask is going to say, well, you boys are having fun upstairs. I'm going to head down to the basement. I'm going to head downstairs. I'm going to kill this guy, and I'll come back and join you a little bit later on. He has removed that C4 play from a lane that BDS were relying on once the push came through. And with that removed, they can very comfortably now look to push their way forwards and start trying to get through the master wall.
Well, now they'll be able to cook the grenade over, and this wall gets free finally. No more electric claws with limbs going down, as you said before. And I wonder how they're going to work this. Do they open up the complete right and give them a full line of sight over towards Astro? Do they just open up? And they did. They've opened up a bit of a crouch hold there by the looks of it. And WTG can also open up the left for a line of sight. Pasha knows the flank is coming down, and he's just better. Rafale will fall as well. And, oh, VP looking like they might take this first map here. The very first map of the EU Major. It's kicking off now.
Move out the way, Sophia. Let me through, Milan. Pasha screams as he charges his way back towards the bedroom to try and find an alternative angle. They're in a 4 versus 2 here. They've got 20 seconds to play with. That is enough time, but Renshiro's back shows Bride is going to pop up and help him out with at least a kill coming back the other way. But can he do it? A 1 versus 3. The clutch master himself, as we've called him so many times over. No way. Rask and Pasha find it out. They're going to take map number 1, 8 and 6. BDS falling on Villa as expected, but not putting up a bad show in the process.
Well, they took it all the way to overtime, but BDS couldn't do it. Sometimes we say, if you can't beat them, you just got to outgun them, at least on their strategy-wise. And they couldn't do that here today. And VP ending on an attack win shows that they're a pretty balanced team. And I'm looking over to Pasha at the moment, 14 kills. and not a surprise to see Shaiko popping off for the side of BDS as well. And I think we've really set the stage here for the EU Major, that all of the teams who are participating had to fight tooth and nail throughout Stage 2 to get here. And now that we